I mean, this would be most useful. Like years ago, I thought I'm going to do a research on retardation, what it's called then. And I collected 100 charts, 150 charts. I did all the work I sorted through, and then I realized every situation was so unique. You can't classify it retardation. You have to classify fast, slow, not thinking. You have to classify the actual disorder rather than just generalize a name for it. And then if you collect enough of those specifics, you begin to see how they place themselves around the cycle and where they are. And more importantly, how to reach someone who you might see unreachable. I mean, astrology opens up incredibly here, you know. So here's the starting point. Mercury goes long, it goes to ascendant, then it goes retrograde quickly after it comes back, and then it goes a long time back into the 12th house and goes forward again. So it goes back in the first house. So most of your life, maybe not thinking for yourself or you're measuring, and it goes forward. Like going across an angle makes a huge difference between light increasing, light darkness increasing, rising and setting, above, below, objective, subjective, functional, being. These are simple words we use. We saw them in the natal chart. Here's where they're coming alive in the progressions in your life. Yeah, and I just did another one where I put the ascendant down here. You spend a long time forward. You just have these little shadows. Like you can go forward. So you're going forward in life somewhere. It's how life's happening. Who knows? Maybe you have a kid, maybe a job or something. You meet a friend or something. You go through your life, backs up, and then you get back in a shadow of doubts, or back in shadow of things. Then it goes forward again. And this, depending where you start in this cycle, or how this dips back, this dipping back could go back into other lifetimes. In this case, it's going back into the 12th house. But if your Mercury was born before that starting point, was after that starting point, it's going to go back into the 12th house into another lifetime. Just as soon as I say it, I haven't said it well enough. I'd like to say it better, but there's not enough. You can spend months just on Mercury, on any of the progressed planets. We spend a lifetime on them, really, on our own, living it. So, okay. You saw my sun, which was in Libra, went through my third house, fourth house, fifth up into Capricorn. Now my Mercury's in Scorpio, conjunct Mars. Makes me a little argumentative, a little competitive, a little pushy in my ideas sometimes. And but it's not hard for me to talk for a 2-hour webinar and have things to say and keep going on it. Once I learned the things I need to learn, once I had the information. But I have a lot more patience, I have a lot less patience putting up with idiots or putting up with things that aren't right. I can't sit still. Anyways, that's your Mercury's, your natal Mercury, how it's working according to your own chart. My Mercury's conjunct Mars, it's squared Pluto, it's square Saturn. I have a very harsh, it's half paranoid Mercury. So my Mercury square Pluto, my attitude was, just because you're paranoid, it doesn't mean someone's not following you. There might be very valid reasons why you're paranoid. But for me, it was always a fight between the negative outer world, the things that were unjust, and is there a God and what's truthful? And these things pushed me into, till I found astrology, till things started coming more together. But my Mercury starts, it goes forward, it's in Scorpio, it goes forward, gets down to hit my IC, goes through out of Scorpio, goes into Sag, goes up a little bit, with 7 degrees, and it back goes retrograde, backs up into Scorpio. It doesn't come back to the exact aspect, thank goodness, but it stayed there, went forward again until it came back to this point. Then now it's moving along on this area without having anything. But in this time period, I really did go over and rethink. I found my astrology early, and I used the astrology was really reassessing, and thinking things through 2 or 3 times. So, I mean, I haven't even got to the looking at the aspects, like you're just looking, you get your overview, you see where it's going. You see it's below, my Mercury is below my horizon all my life. It's in the right, it's study. I'm a professional student all my life. And I teach, I write, I do things, but I'm thinking and studying all the time. I studied more when I left school than when I had to study in school, being told what to study. So these, when I'm looking at my Mercury, it goes along. You can see here's the starting point where Mercury went. You can see here the Mercury going direct. And the starting point, it's about, what would that be? That's about 22 degrees of Scorpio. And no, that's about 18 degrees, 17, 18 degrees of Scorpio. And then it goes up at one retrograde with 7 Sag, backs up. So it goes over my Mars once, yeah, it goes forward, then it goes over, but it hits the IC, hits the Venus, goes forward, hits the Venus, hits the IC, goes back, it comes forward, hits the IC, hits Venus again, and then goes forward. So it's really around the deep point of where am I living, what am I doing, not about where I'm fitting in out in the world. Okay, so now we have our printouts, which gives us all the information. When you know how to work this and slow down, this is all you need. It's just really there. In the printouts, we see the Mercury starting, and we watch Mercury going. In this case, it's going every 10 minutes of a degree. The ones I sent you was going every 1 minute and 40 seconds. It was much finer. There were more sheets. This is 10 minutes of a degree, so it's more condensed. You can do it for a whole degree. You can make any interval you want in this program and get it done. So, but I did it for each 10 minutes of a degree, and it shows you in moving through the hexagrams. It shows there's moving through the degrees. Then it shows you in Scorpio. Then it shows the hexagrams it's moving through, and the lines it's moving through. Then it shows the pentans, then the subhexagrams, and the subpentans, and the subhexagrams. You can see all of those when they start in each line are marked in. I've just colored them in to mark them in so you can see whenever a category changes, something changes in your life in the way you're thinking fairly dramatically. And when you take these from, instead of being a few minutes of each day, a few hours of each day, well, this changes. And these things, they become months or years of your life. Oh. So in this case, my Mercury went forward, it conjuncted Mars. It conjuncted Mars on March 3rd, 48. So I'm not quite 2. But around that time, had a funny thing happen around that time. I was always crawling around and curious, and I always liked books. But I would get books open, and books were expensive, so they didn't want me to play with the books. They put the books up on the top shelf of the bookshelf. And I'm not quite 2, and I climb up the bookshelf to get to the books. I'm climbing up the shelf, and the whole book fell over and smashed open my skull. I had knowledge knocked into me from a very early age. It didn't kill me, but it could have. Now it's just a little scar I have on my forehead, but it was a bigger thing when I was younger. And when you see your kid, that happens, it's pretty scary. Anyways, this was when I ran in with Mars and my Mercury thinking about Mars. So for me, the symbolism is knowledge was knocked into my head at a very early age. I was climbing for it, and I got whammed with it. Really, I look back, yeah, I've been whammed by knowledge all my life. But that's a kind of frivolous interpretation. But there were fights between my parents, other things going on. And but you begin to see each stage is marked in, each line of each hexagram. Whenever anything changes, you can mark it in on these sheets. So you can work through these sheets. These are really the preparation sheets that can work for going. I just have them all here. I'm just going here to set up your star graphs. The star graphs takes it out of the intellectual just to start. Like, I like working with those sheets because you can work with each thing is exactly there. If you know what's happening, you're familiar with it. You can see, you can stop it here. You can look up this hexagram. You have everything right there. We're going back and forth to those sheets all the time. But when we're looking at a lifetime, you want to see it. Here's the Mercury. My Mercury starts. Here's 13 degrees of Scorpio. My third house, it goes forward, conjuncts the Mars. Let's climb the bookshelf. Bash my head. Okay, then I move forward. When it hit the Venus, I was in. My parents had split up, and I was in and out of a foster home for 6 months, probably just that whole period. But the people were very mean and vicious. I was beat up, and I had very fearful. I put a Mercury ideas about things at that time. Again, it's afraid of other situations. So then Mercury came to the starting point. There's the Mercury retrograde, there's the starting point. And so that was in June of '62. My parents split up, and then they get back together. My dad gets sick, almost dies, has a lung thickening, but he survives. He goes bankrupt. We moved to St. Lambert. It was the beginning of starting school, and I had a great Russian gym teacher. So in grade 1, I was on the grade 11 gym teacher. A grade 11 team because he liked my gymnastic ability. So this was a phenomenal point in teaching. There was a special teacher came in, special things came in. So anyways, that went forward until it went direct, came back. And when it went stationary direct, or so when it went stationary direct again, at this point, October '91, really it's a year or so either way. For me, my first one, my parents were splitting up and got back together. For me, it was the end of my third marriage, and I moved my place and set up the library and set up the Star Center with astrology. Well, it was different things entirely, but not entirely. No, both involved knowledge and learning, and parents both splitting up and relationships splitting up. So there's a certain pattern of thinking going on around that. Okay, so we just follow. I'm going to follow through it. Okay. So it goes down and went down to going retrograde. When it went retrograde, it backed up retrograde. One of the unique things in my life, I went forward. I just mostly going to high school, getting through high school, then moving to Westmount, moving to Montreal, and going forward, and then finishing high school and going through my travels on the West Coast and ending up in India, and then going through the black room, the meditation room experiences, and then coming back. And when it went stationary retrograde, in that period was my first marriage. My second marriage was along the way, and my third marriage ended just as Mercury went direct. So my whole retrograde period was my married time. My first part of my life was not unmarried. And then backed up as all married things, which obviously I didn't do too well. I wouldn't have had so many marriages. But it forced me to rethink things. And then, since then, I haven't married. I've been more or less on my own and celibate since then, and moving forward, going through this. So this phase going back and forth in my life, it was, to me, it was so outstandingly clear how differently I was thinking before marriage, after marriages, and having to build up my thinking again just for myself. Again, now I'm past this phase, and I'm thinking a lot, I'm writing a lot, but I'm not trying to feel I need to belong or need to share with you. It's not the same thing. I mean, we have all the other planets and other things going on. We have life happening, and this is how we're thinking while we're going through this. But this was one really outstanding factor of being unrelated and falling my mind out of the home, out of the university, traveling, writing poetry, going to India, getting meditational experiences, and then coming back and getting married. I almost came back and why wouldn't I have started a temple or started something else? But I got married and got into astrology, got married, came back, and but while all those marriages going on, I was learning to study astrology, teaching astrology, working with astrology, and I was rethinking all the earlier first parts of my life. So it's funny because in one way, the first part of my life, I remember it as very positive. I had nature, I had the river, I could do things and get away with things. That's fine. When I analyzed it, look what was going on. I was in a battered, violent home situation or drunken parent, things going on. There was a lot of harsh things going on, but I would always be outside playing. But so in my memories, it's not so negative, but in the analysis, when I analyze it, it's easy to pull out these negative spots, but I don't get stuck in them. I did it sometimes, I think. Anyways,